Welcome to Psychic Holistic Spotlight. I'm your host, Josie Way, and tonight co-hosting along with me are Kathy Medeiros and Bill Hannon, and I'm very pleased to introduce my guest, Emma Phaneuf. I met Emma at a psychic fair, and we started chatting, and I thought, what an interesting person. There's so much she has to share. So, welcome, Emma.
Thank you.
I found out more and more interesting and fascinating things about you. How did you first discover that you were psychic?
I first discovered I was psychic when I was 7, and I would just walk around the neighborhood, and there's a cemetery that was down the street from my house, and I saw all these spirits in the cemetery, and they were wandering around trying to figure out where the doorway was to heaven, and I just pointed to them, and I'm like, it's over there, you need to go up that way. That's how I discovered I was psychic.
Yeah. And how did you continue to work with it? And how did you manage to survive through teenage years and school and everything else?
That's a lot to
Where
ask.
people try to change your mind about it.
Yeah, well, I continued doing that work, helping spirits to cross over for about 2 years. And then I just felt really overwhelmed, and I needed to stop doing that. And I went to my grandmother, who was psychic, and I talked to her about it. And she, helped me to realize that I wasn't in charge of having all the spirits cross over. Mm-hmm. And she introduced me to the black bear medicine, which was doing healing circles in her yard, and then the black bears from the neighborhood and from the different places where she lived was up in Middleton. Mm-hmm. So we're talking, 43 years ago. So there was black bears there, mm-hmm. And they would come into the yard, and they would actually walk the labyrinth. And as they would walk the labyrinth, they would leave footprints. So I would get on my hands and knees and walk in their footprints. So I was initiated into black bear medicine with Blackfoot Indian.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. That's absolutely fascinating.
It was cool.
And it involved a lot of things, from what we talked about. There's healing and there's herbalism. Mm-hmm. There's a lot to know.
There is.
And through it all, you kept your psychic gift. When did you pick up tarot?
I didn't pick up tarot until I was about 15. Me and my grandmother were more about connecting to the earth, mm-hmm. and working her farm and helping her pick blueberries and strawberries and making jams and all that stuff. And then she started the first thing she taught me to read was actually butter. And what I would do is we would have the neighbor farms come over, and they would say, well, how is our crop going to be? And then we would read the butter, just like you would do tea leaf reading. Mm-hmm. But we were reading butter, and that was the first thing I learned how to read.
I used to read candles.
Okay. It's kind of the
same residue
thing.
Of candles.
Yeah, in water, or just the dropping.
Just the dropping.
Yep.
It's
pretty cool,
things.
isn't it?
Yes, it's very cool.
It trained me to be able to read just about any object that somebody would put in front of
mm-hmm.
me. So that's kind of psychometry.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, psychometry can be quite fascinating.
It is.
Yeah, you can do that too.
That residue of energy that comes off the product.
Especially
of what
when
you're reading.
it passes down in the family, though, there's a lot more added to the energy for that.
Yeah.
It's passed down.
Yeah, and I discovered with the candles that angels were working with me, and they were helping me mm-hmm. with the way they melted to create a message.
Interesting.
So it's entirely possible there were totem animal spirits, the black bears, working with you.
Yep. Absolutely.
Well, bear energy is usually recognized as healing.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. That sacred energy of Mother Earth.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, well, I know bear has a lot about going within.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
that slumber state.
such as
and
hibernation.
contemplating and reviewing, and then when you're finished with that cycle, your renewal
Right.
occurs. It's beautiful energy. So you've got shamanic background, and then you started with the tarot cards. And where did you go from all of that?
Well, from the reading butter, I went into reading tea leaves, and then by the time I was about 17, I was really reading tarot cards at that point. And my training went from the age of about 15 all the way until I was about 21. That's when all of my real training in tarot came from. And I would go to the Tremont Tea Room. That's that was in Boston. And
I've heard of it.
yeah, and I would go there and I would do readings there with the people that were there, and they would do a little training with me and I would do a little training with them. So it was a really nice collaborative of a lot of psychic people. So I had a lot of like psychic people support throughout my high school years, and so I never really put it down. I just never really talked about it at school because that wasn't something that was acceptable at school. So it's like a lot of my personal training happened outside of school. I didn't do any of it there. Not very many people in high school and junior high and all that knew that I was psychic. I kept that to my family.
But your family knew and accepted.
Yes, absolutely.
That's a real blessing.
Yeah,
A real
it's
blessing.
different upbringing from other people.
Yeah.
Now, do you still practice a lot of the bear medicine, or is it mostly the tarot and the psychic stuff?
No, I still do that.
Yeah.
I
No.
still do the meditations.
Okay, now for the bear medicine, I have a question. Is there like a cycle throughout the year, like the calendar year, for the different phases of the bear?
There is, and right now the bears are hibernating. So at this point, your meditations with the bear medicine is to do that inward reflection and make sure that you're really connected with yourself and you really understand yourself and you know what you want to do forward for the new year. So you actually come out of the winter months having goals and like really being able to initiate and establish those goals.
Now, when the bears are awake during the normal period of the year, then when they're awake, though, how do you?
How do you connect?
Yes.
I actually do meditations with a stone that's called tiger iron, and what I do with that is I put that right on my third eye, and I can actually connect with the black bear medicine, and I can actually connect with the black bear medicine, and actually travel with the bear, and actually be able to move through the woods and like really understand myself and that energy.
That's
Now, is that a time
beautiful.
of reflection as well, too, or is that?
No, that's a time of doing.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's a real time of doing. You're really like having that energy of the bear come into you and bring you that energy to like really manifest and move forward.
Oh, okay.
Now, in the spring, is there a focus on family with
There
the
is.
bear?
Yep, there is.
And
That's where I do a lot of my
With the-
mediumship stuff.
the fall, that you would say completions and harvesting, and not that bears harvest, but they actually have to eat quite a lot
Exactly.
to make it through the winter.
Right, so it's gathering and making sure you have all the things that you need to get through the winter. So it's kind of funny because the last like 4 weeks I've been like gathering and gathering and gathering. My husband's like, have you spent enough money? I'm like, this is about gathering right now. I need to make all of my projects happen during the winter because that's usually when I do it.
Right. Yeah.
And the rest of the year I really don't spend money because this is the time of the year that I gather everything that I need.
Well, you do crafts. You do crafts and other things too,
Exactly.
you
And
know,
that's-
during the winter months.
Yeah,
It's very bare
yeah, it really is.
to do that.
It's
It
a little
is.
silly, but it is.
No, I do the same thing. I
Yeah.
have seasonal patterns,
Absolutely.
So who knows, maybe there's some bear medicine with me.
Yeah, there probably is, if you have that same flow.
Yeah.
And I really find the winter to be a very creative time because I allow myself to really go in and I create a lot of smudge feathers and magical items during the winter. And I'm really productive in that way during the winter.
Sounds wonderful. One thing that I saw on your large business card was something that I don't see very often, and it's that you do corporate parties.
That's
that you're
correct.
involved with
Yep.
doing the tarot and the readings
Yep.
with corporations. And I'm sure people would like to know about that.
Pretty much what corporate parties entail is that you're actually being hired by a corporation to be there and entertain and give information and do mediumship readings for the people that work for them as a bonus to the people that they have working with them or the people that they have as customers. So in that way, it's a really interesting transition. Not transition. What's the word I'm looking for? Exchange is really the word I'm looking for. For people to understand what spiritualism and corporates now are really like taking in that people really care about spiritualism. They really care about connecting to their spirit guides. They want to know what's going to happen for them for the new year. So this is a really busy time for me and my company.
Yeah, I'm familiar with someone else who does New Year angel readings that talks about the new year, and a few other people from a Wiccan perspective and the angel perspective, and now a spiritual perspective. But it is a time of year to prepare yourself. By the time the show airs, it will be winter.
It will.
It will be winter.
I'll be completely engaged in making stuff.
Well, let me ask you this. Having an affinity to the bear energy, I mean, when you're working with somebody herbally, do you get maybe spontaneous insight as to what might be good for that person, or do you more or less listen to...
Yeah.
So
I
you
listen
just-
to their body and how they react to the different suggestions that you have with them, and when you're going through healing processes, you
So
really
it-
listen to that
Is
body and the
that
flow.
while you're hands-on?
Sometimes,
Sometimes.
not always.
Right.
And my psychic ability will kick in too and say, hey, this person needs this, you know, and I really do go with that.
Oh, yeah, once you get a message like that, you don't ignore
You
it.
can ignore it, no.
No?
Yeah.
No, it's when you get messages, in order to keep the messages coming, you have to listen to the messages, and you learn that.
Right. And
After
you
a while.
you express gratitude
Yes.
because just like, just courtesy or respect that you have, just like you and I are talking right now, you treat each other with respect, you express cordial exchanges,
Absolutely.
and it's the same thing with voices on the other side. You just got to keep that communication open and keep the ease flowing. Don't overreact or react, emotionally to information.
Yeah, it's hard sometimes not to attach to something. Some things are, especially with mediumship, some people come through so strong and with such caring energies that it touches your heart. And you have to relay that to the person, that there's a great deal of love coming through for you. Now, we didn't talk too much about mediumship, but when did you realize that you could help people communicate with loved ones who've passed?
I think that was kind of an ongoing process for me. I think when I started seeing spirit is kind of like really that signifier that I knew that I was connecting, and that would be the age of 7. I would go around telling people at the age of 9, hey, you need to go get an operation on your knee, blah, 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 this person's telling you. You know, and I learned at a very young age, you don't do that. Very young, especially in the grocery store, because those would be random people that have random people following them around.
Yes.
And I really learned at a very young age, don't go around telling people stuff that you really have no business knowing. You know, and that was something that I needed to actually address when I was very young. So I would say throughout my whole life since the age of 7, I have known that I could speak with spirit. And when I started picking up tarot cards is when I started getting like full-bodied like answers for people. And that really triggered a lot more for me with my spiritualism and mediumship. It kind of brought everything full circle for me.
What do you mean by full body messages?
Full body messages like names, dates, what's going to happen, when it's going to happen, who's going to do it, when will these things actually take place? Yeah, so full bodied answers.
Yeah, the information comes in, I'm getting it on a channel. The information comes in extremely clearly because you're able to connect with people.
It's true.
And not everyone trusts the way you're able to trust in your guides.
I absolutely have full faith in my guides. That's one of the benefits of my work because I've been doing it for so long.
Is there ever a shut-off time for you when they don't come in and give you messages for people?
Yeah, when there's a message that the person needs to hear and my spirit guides know they're not going to listen. Or when my spirit guides really know that this is a person I should not read for whatever reason. It could be good, bad, or indifferent. It could be for protection of myself, or it could be for protection of the person that I'm reading. But that does happen. I had one person come to me to have a reading, and 2 days later, they actually fell off a ladder. And if I had told the person you're going to fall off a ladder, they may have, choked, fall off the ladder, and like died because they fell off the ladder. I was not supposed to prevent them from doing that or interfere in it, or they could have got hurt more.
Right, it was an experience they had to go through.
Exactly.
Right.
So there's a limit to what you should or should not say to people, I believe.
No, in my experience, sometimes though I'm not told an answer for a question though because they need to learn the lesson for themselves. Is
Absolutely.
that something you've learned, you've seen for yourself too?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
You have to just kind of respect that non-answer. There are reasons for it.
If the person is ready to hear it, though, sometimes you can get very strong messages.
Absolutely.
And when you get that message, you know you need to share it because this person is ready for it.
That's
but
true.
A lot of it has to do with the agreement that you have with your guides, because there is either a spoken or unspoken agreement. I have one agreement that I've spoken, and that's do not give me problems unless you can give me solutions. Give me solutions to show the person how they can resolve the problem. That's a spoken one, but there are unspoken ones that some people have, like, don't show me the inside of a person. I don't want to see that. You can show me there's dark energy or whatever in a spot, but don't show me the actual insides. because I had that happen to me. And
Spooky.
someone asked me, how are my lungs? I said, well, I'll take a look. I don't know if I'll see them. I said, oh my God, they're very, very pink. They're moist and pink and very, very healthy. I had taken some nursing, so
Yeah.
I could tell what a good-looking lung was. I
That's
told
pretty
Spirit,
funny.
I don't think I want that now. I'm sorry. Because I would like that ability, but they won't give it back to me.
I have a few
Like a
agreements. Yeah.
medical, intuitive type of thing.
But I will see darkness and stuff like that where there's energy, lack of energy, or something.
Well, Emma, now I noticed that you have a deck of cards out here. Is there anything you want to share with us about the cards?
They're unusual.
Yeah, they're a really large deck. They're a deck that is a couple of the cards. They're a deck that I just recently started using that I really find kind of strike into my third eye a little bit deeper than the deck that I was using previously. And I feel like it's because they're brand new and they're pitches that I'm not used to. So the doorways, I consider them a doorway, literally the card itself. And I can actually go into each of the card and have that card come alive, and it'll tell me things that that other
interesting.
cards have not been able to tell me.
That's great.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
wow.
it's like if you look at the card, it's like the perimeter of the card becomes this doorway, and the person or the object inside the card actually starts to come alive or comes 3D out of the card. It's really interesting what they do. They're a really nice deck.
Yeah, when you say that, I could almost like feel it in the.
Yeah, this is a card. This card right here, which is kind of interesting that I picked to show. I've actually had the man in the picture actually lift off the card and actually start talking to me as he was like in the room, not just being a person on the card itself.
That's great.
It was really interesting.
So you really connect with this deck then?
I
very
do.
Closely.
Very much so. And the other deck that I read with is called the Cosmic deck, and that was the deck that my grandmother actually bought for me back when I was 16.
Wow.
Wow.
And I've been actually reading with that deck from then until about 2 months ago when I picked this deck up. And this deck has just kind of like come alive, literally, for me.
That other deck must have a lot of energy running through it.
It does. I have the original deck that my grandmother gave me, which I call my grandmother deck, which I don't use on people anymore because it's so tattered. But I have about 6 other decks of that same deck that I've used throughout my career.
Yeah.
I use them typically for about 5 or 6 years, and then they get just completely worn. And this deck I just picked up on a whim, really, and it just really spoke to me. The other thing is the symbol on the back side, the triangle, is my mastership symbol for my sacred geometry work that I do.
Yeah, right.
So that was the initial thing that struck me.
Right. Yeah, sacred
It
geometry.
called you.
Sacred colors, sacred geometry, they're all.
Yeah, it even matches my business card, the purple and white. And I have a tablecloth that's purple and white. It's like everything I do, purple, typically.
Well,
It's a good color.
Yeah.
When
love
you're
purple.
psychic, you're drawn to a lot of purple.
Yeah. And Saint Germain is purple, and he is my spirit guide. And that's why I trust him so readily.
Do you use the violet flame that he brought forth?
Absolutely. Yep. I've been an Ascension practitioner for about 23 years and was baptized into the Ascension Order about 20 years ago. So I'm actually an Ascension practitioner priest.
Tell me a little bit more about that. I don't
That
think
sounds
I've heard
very,
of that.
yeah, that's right, that sounds very interesting.
What that basically is I do decrees for people, and I use the decrees in my star chamber, and I can actually communicate with Saint Germain directly and go to him in their behalf for their healing. And I help to transmute any misqualified energies that they need to transmute, physical, mental, and emotional, so that they can have a healthy physical body. an emotional body.
Very interesting.
The only question I have about that is, don't they have to make some sort of change in order to stay
Absolutely.
healthy?
Absolutely.
You know, they have to
It's gotta be a
let go
complete
of
agreement.
something, and
Yep.
you know.
Like if they need like healing for their lungs and they're a smoker, they need to stop smoking. You know, there needs to be a full agreement. And if they're not willing to do a full agreement, if I don't see that they're actually practicing what I've asked them to do and meditate what I've asked them to meditate on, then that agreement's broken and I can no longer work with them.
And so that's where the duality comes in. We've got to do our half for the other half of spirit, though, to be able to do their part.
Yeah, you have to do your part.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's essential. I'm thinking about the cards, how they speak to you. I know the cards that I work with clarify and confirm the
Answers you're getting.
the messages that I've already given
That's nice.
the people.
Yeah.
You know, that
The confirmation.
I channel for them. But it gives more clarity. And you know, this is what I'm hearing, is you get this very clear impression
Yeah.
from these.
Yeah. And I would say that you do as well in your way what you do. I think that's important to, you know, verify that what you're getting for your client is, you know, the appropriate thing for them because they've come to you, you know. The way everybody does their part in helping people is, I believe, why that person is in front of them. It's like one person may come to me, but may come to everybody here on the panel too.
And get
for
something
things.
different.
Absolutely.
Right.
Absolutely.
Well, I think that has a lot to do with, you know, your personal vibration.
Absolutely.
Interacting with the vibration of the person that you're reading. So the thing is that your personal vibration is different than Josie's or Kathy's or myself, and so when you read it, you're going to resonate with the frequency that's going to give you information about that person, and she'll
Absolutely.
pick up different information. And right, so it's
I have a tiny story, because we need to say thank you to our guests
Right.
and co-host
Right.
and audience. But in my tiny story, when a message is important and 4 people are sitting there, they will give a variant of the same message.
Same message, yeah.
We had one client that needed to look at how stubborn they were. And one person saw a goat, another person saw something else. I mean, but I remembered the goat,
yeah,
and everyone, even though they were different, gave
right. Basically the
a
same
very
essence.
similar message of what
Same
they needed
essence
to
of
look
it,
at.
right.
Yeah, until you get it, though, you will keep getting the same message until you get it. That's what we've learned, different
Yeah.
ways. Yeah.
Absolutely.
And of course, there are people that go to readers looking to get a specific message. And then when they don't get it, they just go to another reader.
And they just keep trying to get the same message over and over again.
Well, that's like, you know, sitting down and doing a math problem and going 2 + 2 = 5. And you know, of course, it's not accurate, but, you know, the thing is that you want that answer. And so the thing is, you keep writing
Trying
down, right.
different ways
right.
to get
It's
that.
never going to be 9.
No,
No. No.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, thank you so much for joining us. Please come back. Thank you so much for being our guest, Emma.
Thank you.
We will have you back to
Yeah.
talk about stones.
Oh, good. Thank you.
stones, and I'd also like to get a little more in depth about other
Herbals.
modalities and how you
And
make
other-
the connections while you're actually in the zone, working with the person.
Okay.
That sounds really good.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.